Good evening, Titan Nation. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to another riveting edition of Titans in Truth. I am your host, Chris, aka Blue Enforcer, and we are in for another terrific episode this evening for you. As I get started, I want y'all to make sure y'all do enjoy this show. Comment, let me know what you think of the show. Also, share this out to any of your friends, whether on YouTube or on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Go ahead and share this out and spread the word about Titans of Truth, because a lot of big things are coming. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, to the YouTube channel, please do so. I have over 120 subscribers now. I want to get up to the 200, the 300, the 400, the 500s. I need y'all to spread the word. I need y'all help to keep this going. So please subscribe to the channel so that you can get all the Titans of Truth updates. Also, I got to make sure I start updating the website, www.titansandtruth.wixsite.com/titansandtruth. That's where you can check out all of the episodes will be on there. And I'm going to get back to writing blogs again. So I'm going to have some of my blogs on there as well. Definitely talking about the off-season, free agency, the draft, anything coming up. So I'll definitely have some stuff on there as well. But let's get into this, because normally I would have been talking about, the loss to the New England Patriots. And taking a look at the off season, taking a look at the season outlook and getting prepared for the off season. However, there's been a little bit of a change of plan. As I know a lot of you know, about 72 hours ago, we had a head football coach. And as of right now, we don't. And if you don't know, I did do a show back on Monday evening. I did a little Titans of Truth extra show. Did a little breaking news show. You can check it out on YouTube. It is called Titans and Truth Extra, talking about what happened with Mike Mularkey. So, as you already knew, after the 35-14 loss on Sunday after the game, the Titans were looking at extending Mike Mularkey. They were going to give him a contract extension, probably for a year or maybe 2 years, and they were going to bring him back. So when I first heard that, I'm thinking, oh, great, they're going to bring him back. But I think where it did it for him, and we're going to talk more about that toward the end of the show, was the press conference on Sunday. I think the press conference on Sunday was the straw that broke the camel's back, and basically he dug his grave. He dug his grave and he buried himself. Basically saying, he thought, season was a success. Went 9-7, got a playoff win. Thought that the coaching staff, and in particular, Terry Robisky, did a very good job, and Marcus's development was great. And the thing that he said that probably set John Robinson off was, I anticipate not making any changes. So, what happened here was, they had an extension put out for him, and I think what happened, and a lot of people think it might be a lot more than that, a lot deeper than that John Robinson didn't want Mike Mularkey. I don't think it was any of that. I think he had something to do with that. I think a lot had to do with the fact that Marcus Mariota had not development has taken a step back and had his worst statistical season of his young career. And it said Terry Robisky did a very good job, when in actuality, the offense regressed. Last year, in 2016, the offense was a top 10 offense. You go from 8th to 23rd offensively. Marcus goes from throwing 26 touchdowns, 9 picks, to throwing 13 touchdowns, 15 picks. He threw half as many touchdowns this year as he did last year, and threw more interceptions than he did last year. But yet Mike Mularkey said, everything's fine. Nothing to fix. Everything is great. That's the problem. And see, Mike Mularkey could not even see past his own problems. He could not let his stubbornness get out of the way. And so, John Robinson, gave him, presented him with a contract extension, but was telling him, hey, you're going to have to make some changes. You're probably going to have to make some changes, like an offensive coordinator and maybe probably special teams coach, quarterback coach. And then, I wake up Monday morning, and how fitting, I was listening to my guys, Austin and Zach on A to Z Sports, and as they were about to wrap up their show at about 8:55 a.m., Austin says, we got breaking news. Mike Mularkey has been fired. Now, actually, to be honest, the politically correct term was mutually parted ways. And so basically what I think happened there was that they came to him and said, look, you got to fire Terry Robisky. You got to let him go. Our offenses went backwards, and we'll keep you, but you got to let Robisky go. Mike Mularkey said no. He stuck up for his coaches. Basically, it was Robisky or Mularkey. Mularkey chose Robisky. Mularkey's out as head coach of the Tennessee Titans. And, John Robinson had a press conference that Monday afternoon, explaining that, the firing took place and that the search for the head coach would begin immediately. Now, I have to admit, convincing Amy Adams Strunk to do this was probably the biggest victory of all, because we all know that Amy Adams Strunk loved Mike Mularkey. He was her first and only choice for head coach back in 2016, early 2016, and they got him hired before they did the general manager. And so, seeing that Amy Adams Strunk saw the light was a big deal, and now John Robinson is out to find a new head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Now, I will say, this is a risk. This is a risky move, because now John Robinson is betting on himself. And, we were talking bad about the coach and everything like that. Now, if things go bad with a new coach, the blame will all be on the head coach. The majority of the blame will now turn to John Robinson. So now, the pressure ain't on the coaches anymore. It's on John Robinson himself. Now John Robinson has got to get the right hire for this football team, and he's got to get a guy that is going to be able to maximize the talent of this football team. He basically said, hey, 9-7, just barely get into the playoffs. It's not enough. It's not enough. Think of, and, my wife even asked me this question. She was saying, yeah, we're going to be looking for a new coach. We might be taking a step back because we got to have a new coach. Why not keep the guy that you have? Why not keep the guy that you have? And, you may be able to build on that. And what I told her was, yes, Mike Mularkey 9-7, 2 years in a row. Got us to the playoffs and got us our first ever playoff win. That's true. And that is a good thing. But you got to think of where John Robinson came from, where he spent the majority of his career. New England. And what has New England done for almost the last 15 some odd years? Win championships. John Robinson is basically saying, look, just getting to the playoffs is not good enough. We're here to win championships. I want to bring a Super Bowl championship to Nashville. Now, he said championship. He didn't say Super Bowl, but I'm thinking he means he wants division titles. He wants to win an AFC championship. He wants to eventually win a Super Bowl for Nashville. And that is a major goal. That is a major goal. Are the Titans there yet? Not yet, but I think they could get there. And I like the vision that John Robinson has. The only problem is, again, he's going to be betting on himself with this new coaching hire, so he has to get it right. Now, on the other side, if the coaching hire works and we get successful, we, make it to the playoffs or win a division and, eventually get to the Super Bowl in about 5 years, it looks great. But what happens if this new coach fails? Say 2-3 years, we're 7-9 or 6-10 or 8-8, and we miss the playoffs a couple of years straight. Everybody's going to be pointing the finger at John Robinson, and that's not going to look good for him. So he's got to get it right. So there are two ways to look at this, but let's focus on the glass half full, and that is looking at a new head coach. So, yes, Mike Mularkey, and let me say this again. Mike Mularkey did a lot of great things. He was in the community, really good guy. He took us from the floor. He took us from we were buried 6 feet under, took us from the dark ages and brought us back to some semblance of being relevant. He brought us out of the darkness. But I think we reached the ceiling with Mike Mularkey. With Mike Mularkey, I think what we did was about the best we were going to get with Mike Mularkey as head coach. You'll probably get, 9-7, 8-8, 7-9 seasons with maybe an occasional trip to the playoffs, with maybe, a trip to the playoffs 1 or 2 times, and then maybe an occasional victory in the playoffs. But you won't get further than the divisional round. That's about where it looks like Mike Mularkey's ceiling was going to be. John Robinson wants to go higher than that. He wants to go further than that. He doesn't want to just get in the playoffs. He wants to win in the playoffs, get to the AFC Championship, get to the Super Bowl, and maybe win one. That's where John Robinson wants to go. And, I think he has to drive to get us there. And so, what we're going to do later is we're going to take a look at some head coaching candidates that are already scheduled for interviews and some guys that, that they may look at, and a couple of dark horses as well. And also, I know I was talking about the off-season awards for Star of the Year and Dunce of the Year. I want y'all to hold off on that. I got a few nominations for that, and I'm going to keep those in mind. I'm going to keep those, but next week we're going to talk about off-season awards, and we're going to name our Two-Tone Blue Star of the Year. We're going to name our Dunce of the Year as well, which I know a few people have put out the obvious choice for it. And we're also going to talk about, maybe some most improved players, some players that could be breakout players next season, and things like that. And we're going to take a look at what could be some needs in the draft and in free agency. We hold the 25th pick in the draft. So, draft-wise, it's going to be a bit of a wild card, because we can't just set our eyes on one particular position. So we'll have to definitely take a look at that and see on that. And that's something that we're going to talk about next week on Titans and Truth. But we're going to quickly go into Pick My Brain. Pick My Brain. And we're going to go ahead and see a few questions from the audience and talk about, what's going on and what could be going on in the future for the Tennessee Titans. Excuse me for that. And so, you have to forgive me if I pause for a minute while I look down and make sure I have all my questions together. But got a few questions here from Shane. First, it says, what are the 3 positions you see us needing to address the most this draft and free agency? I would say number 1 need is we're going to need a pass rusher. We're going to need another pass rusher, maybe young, because Brian Arapo and Derek Morgan are not getting any younger. They're not getting any younger. And, you need somebody that's going to take you to the next level. Brian Arapo will get you the occasional 10, to 11 to 12 sacks. But Derek Morgan has yet to reach 10 sacks. I mean, he only had 7.5 sacks this past season. And, I mean, I know it was more of a collective effort, but Derek Morgan has yet to hit 10 sacks. And that's kind of disappointing. So, I mean, that's kind of a push on whether he was a bust or not. But a Rakpo, we know he can get us about, can get us sometimes at least 10 sacks a year. But we need somebody young, somebody fresh, to be that pass rusher coming off the edge, a little bit more energy, maybe a little bit better technique, and just can get past that offensive tackle and get to the quarterback a little bit quicker. Also, I would say another need that I think is becoming a need, especially on defense, is an inside linebacker. Well, I'll put two together. Inside linebacker / strong safety. It could be either one of those two. I think Avery Williams' contract is up. I don't think he's coming back. I mean, he had a decent year, but it wasn't really a contract-worthy year like Wesley Woodyard. And I say strong safety because Jonathan Cyprien is terrible. He is horrible, and I really think John Robinson should just cut bait with him, go after like maybe a Kenny Vaccaro if he's a free agent, or draft Derwin James or maybe Deshaun Elliott from Texas if they happen to be available at 25 or in the second round. I think that's the way we need to go with that. And last but not least, third, I would say is guard. Offensive guard position. The interior of the offensive line has been the weakness of this offensive line. I think Josh Klein is gone. I think he's a unrestricted free agent. Quinn Spain is a restricted free agent. I don't know if they'll pick up his tender or not. Maybe they'll pick up the tender, but they may not extend him long and see how he plays out. Maybe a prove it year for Quinn Spain. But I think at least one position at guard is definitely going to be replaced either by free agency or the draft, I should say. I think it could go where they get two guards, one in free agency, one in the draft. I think they're definitely going to look at the guard position. Honorable mention, one more position, I think it's wide receiver. I mean, I think Corey Davis finally showed some glimpses in the game against New England with a 2-touchdown performance, and I think that was his small breakout game, and I think he's ready to take it to the next level. I just don't think Douglas, Decker, and maybe not even Rashard Matthews is returning. So I think we'll need another wide receiver that could be a breakout. Maybe somebody like an Allen Robinson or Jarvis Landry, possibly as a wide receiver that could come in and be opposite Corey Davis. And maybe they'll start using Taywan Taylor a little bit more in the slot. I think that could be with the right coach, with the right coordinator. I think they could be a dangerous offense if they put it together correctly. So those are my three best needs: pass rusher, inside linebacker / strong safety, and a guard, definitely. And he also said, how are you feeling about the season overall? Did we overachieve, underachieve? Seeing things are done pretty well. Let me see. I'm sorry, did we overachieve or underachieve? Honestly, in getting to the playoffs, I think we achieved. We met expectations. Now, I think as far as how we got to the playoffs, I will say we slightly underachieved. And this is why I say that, and I think this is another reason why Mike Mularkey got fired. Or parted ways, excuse me. It was because of the way we got to the playoffs. I think, honestly, it was the offensive struggles, with the game against Cleveland and the game, struggling down the stretch against Cincinnati and Baltimore. And also, I think the West Coast trip to Arizona and San Francisco, I think that ultimately did him in. I think that was the two games that mainly got Mularkey ousted as head coach. Because you lost 12-7 to Arizona, and then you made bad decisions against San Francisco. And the main reason is the AFC South was laid out for the Titans to win. I mean, it was basically the AFC South title was right there for the taking. The football gods was basically just giving you the AFC South trophy, and we didn't want to take it. We didn't reach out to take it. Mularkey, being stubborn as he always is, decided not to take it. I mean, no Deshaun Watson, no Andrew Luck, no J.J. Watt, no Whitney Merciless, and we couldn't take it. Now, it wasn't necessarily what we did in division, it was what we did outside. You know, the losses again to San Francisco, to Arizona. Those were losses that I think ultimately did him in. And, of course, you know, we didn't finish the job against the Rams. I think if we won 2 of those 3 games, we're AFC South champions. And we're probably not having this discussion. And the thing about it is, Mularkey could not have asked for an easier path to the title, and he didn't pull it off. That's why he was let go. Because next year, the schedule is a whole lot tougher. You're going to have teams like New England coming in here, Philly coming in here. You got games against Washington, the Giants, the Jets, who are improving, Miami, who might improve, Buffalo, who is in the playoffs. And you already got to play even a stronger AFC South. You see the Jacksonville defense is coming back. And they may be coming back with a better quarterback, might I add. Houston, Deshaun Watson's going to be back. And you got to play him twice. Andrew Luck might be back with Josh McDaniels, possibly as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, twice. If Mike Mularkey was head coach going into that year, I could honestly say, division-wise, we might get 2 wins, maybe 3. Not guaranteed, but it would have not been pretty for Mike Mularkey, in my honest opinion. With a tougher schedule and him not making changes, it would have been a very rough season for us, and he would have got fired next season anyway. So I think they made the right move. And so that's what I think. I think they underachieved in a lot of ways. Next question. Seeing things are done pretty well this offseason, are you seeing us as a team to beat in the AFC South? Again, I think the AFC South is going to be much, much tougher to win. I think if Andrew Luck comes back, it's going to be a problem. I mean, I think we'll be able to compete with a good head coach. We'll be able to compete as long as our defense is better, but it's not going to be easy because, you know, us at Jacksonville 1-2, whoever is 1-2 could easily be 3 or 4 next year with all the teams coming back. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I don't know if we'll be the team to beat. I think Jacksonville might get that title, but I think we could be a team that could have something to say about that. Let's see. How do you like the rookies we got this year? Which one was the biggest standout to you, and do you believe they all have a very high ceiling? Rookie-wise, I got to go back. I think of all the rookies, I think the best one was Adoree Jackson. I know Adoree kind of struggled down the stretch in the return game, but as a corner, he did a very, very good job. I know he didn't get any interceptions yet, and I think those are coming. But I think Adoree Jackson was very solid in coverage. After being picked on early, I think he was picking up the game very, very well, and I think he's only going to get better. I think he has the potential to become one of the better shutdown corners in the league. I really believe that. I think he just needs to work on a few things with the return game, coming up to catch shorter punts, and also not just letting it bounce and just making better decisions, I think. And once he does that, I think he'll be fine as a returner, but I think he's going to get a lot better. Corey Davis, I think, was hampered by injury, and it took him all year to get along. I think a good offseason for Corey Davis, good timing with Marcus and building more chemistry will make him an even better player. I think year 2 could be a very, very good year for Corey Davis. Taywan Taylor, very disappointed. I thought he might make a little bit more of an impact, but the coaches didn't know how to use him well. I don't think they used any of our rookies very well. They didn't use Corey Davis well. They didn't use Taywan Taylor at all. Jonnu Smith has got to clean up the penalty mess because it seemed like every game he was causing a penalty, and that's not what you want. Jayon Brown, I think, did okay covering tight ends. He's got to get better at covering linebackers. Got to get a little bit faster than he already is. He may have a chance to start next year, but he's got some work to do. But I think he'll be okay. And I'm trying to think of any other rookies. Keflani Muhammad, Josh Caraway. Maybe they have a chance to make the team next year. I didn't see anything of them, so we don't know yet what to think. I think that's incomplete mostly. But I think the rookie class got some growing to do. But I think they have some upside. So I think their ceiling is still reachable. They have nowhere near gotten to the ceiling. I mean, they haven't even gotten off the floor yet. So I think that's a lot to be desired. Do you feel that Brady will retire after this season? God, I hope so. I would hope so too. And I cannot believe I'm going to utter these words. If Brady does win, I'm sorry. I hate saying Golden Boy's name. I hate that guy. But if number 12 for the hated New England Patriots does win a 6th Super Bowl, as much as I cannot believe I'm going to say this, he may very well go down as the greatest of all time, even though he cheated for half of them. And that's all I got to say about that. I don't want to answer no more questions about Brady. I'm sorry. And so, let's see. Okay, Brandon coming saying, last show before free agency, breaking news, or the draft. Have a great show. Not the last show. Not the last show. Probably going to do another show next week and talk about some free agency, maybe a look at positions and stuff like that. Then I'll probably take a break for a minute and then come back with some stuff maybe about the Senior Bowl, and maybe we'll look at free agency from there. But let me see. Let's see. He thinks we'll land Vrabel and still be contenders. I don't know about that, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's see. PNB, with all the ups and downs of the season, did we set out and do what expectations were, or did we underutilize what the fans' expectations were? I think, again, we met expectations. Getting to the playoffs. I know we wanted to win the division. We did better in the division, finishing 5-1, and we got to the playoffs. But I think we left a lot to be desired. And I think that's why we kind of underachieved a bit. And so we better get it together. And he said, next season, a better one. And dilly. I think he's saying, we better do some winning next season. So I think that is definitely, I couldn't agree more with that. We better definitely do some winning. I'm trying to see if I have any other questions. Give me just a moment, y'all. I'm thinking that is everything. I think that was all the questions I had. Let's see. Just looking at everything, I think I did have all the questions. Yeah, I think that was everything. Yeah, that was all the questions I had, and I thank everybody for their participation and everything on pick my brain. And I also want to thank our sponsors of Titans and Truth, Rose Jewels Boutique, my girl Allison Conley. Again, y'all need some jewelry. Y'all need some jewelry, fellas. Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is a month away. It's a month away. I'm telling you, go check her out. If you don't want to be in the doghouse, talk to her. Tell her Chris of Titans and Truth sent you. Maybe she might give you a little discount. I doubt it though. But talk to her. Let her know that Chris of Titans and Truth sent you. If you're serious about getting some jewelry, and she can kind of make it the way, maybe close to your lady, whatever she might like. As far as fitting her personality and things like that. A nice breeded bracelet would be nice, or a necklace would be cool, or even some earrings could be something nice. Like if your girl likes music, she might can make some earrings with like music notes on them, or she may be able to find like something that says Titans or something like that, or with the logo, and maybe make a special type of, maybe not the exact same necklace as they might sell like on NFL Shop, but something a little bit more unique, something a little bit more different than what you get in the jewelry store. And guys, you can also look at jewelry for yourself as well. Necklace, some blingage, or something like that. You could definitely talk to her about that. And also, check out my cousin LaCrystal Cleveland at Craft Gasmic Creations. As you can see, and I've shown this for a while. As y'all see, my information. As y'all can see, my information for how you can reach me on Titans and Truth, and right here, Titans and Truth. That's it. If y'all want hoodies, or sweatshirts or t-shirts just like I have, hit her up. Hit her up on Facebook, hit her up on Instagram, hit her up on the Craft Gasmic Creations page, or you can inbox LaCrystal Cleveland if you are inquiring about getting a shirt or a sweatshirt, or at Craft Gasmic Creations on Instagram. I will post a picture. I'm going to post pictures of the sweatshirts and stuff on my Facebook page, on the Titans of Truth page, and also on Instagram, probably within the next day or two. So I'm definitely going to try to do that. So if you want to order something like that, get to her, talk to her. Because not only would you be supporting her, you'll be wearing Titans of Truth gear, supporting me. So I would really appreciate if y'all get out there and do that. And let's make this thing grow. But let's get, before we go into stuff about these coaches, I want to I'm going to do a little bit different with the Blu Bombshell question that I posted out. And what I posted out basically, I wanted to get y'all thoughts, with Mike Mularkey no longer being the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. My question basically was, and I'm trying to get my thing to come up. My question basically is, do you think the Tennessee Titans, do you think John Robinson, Amy Adams Strong did Mike Mularkey wrong by letting him go? Do you think, do you think John Robinson was wrong to let Mularkey go? Or they should have just kept him? What did y'all think about that? And I got a lot of comments. I know I got a lot of comments off of that. And for example, Priscilla Brown says, I know a lot of people are glad he's gone, but I really liked him. Just hope we go uphill and not back from here on out. And so, again, I understand. There are some people out there that, like Mike Mularkey. And again, I thought Mike Mularkey, was a good guy. I think he was a good guy, a good man, but not a good head coach, in my honest opinion. And let's see, got some more. Kihai, my man Kihai, aloha. My brother says, Mularkey got what he deserved. Kihai has been a Mularker for a very long time, and obviously I know he's happy with that. Brandon says Mularkey did it to himself. They had it laid out for him. All he had to do was let his friend go. It's business, and Robisky would understand. Which, I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, you got to think business. If you're a head coach in this league, there are going to be times where you got to let your friends go. And he wasn't willing to do that. And so that ultimately cost him. Let's see, I know I had a bunch more comments. Sharon Cushman comes in and says, no, Mike knew what he had to do. He walked, which is about right. Shane comes and said, no, sir. You, talking about me, called it right from a few weeks back. He didn't want to let go of his staff, so he was let go of. I'm hearing it was mutual though, so he probably had a feeling. And then Ike Love comes in and said, no, he had a chance to keep his job, didn't want to make changes to the staff. And I mean, you know, that's it right there. Ryan Gray coming in and says, I'm tired of hearing that the Titans done Mike Mularkey wrong. He done us wrong by running that tired offense that averaged 15 points a game in the regular season and against the Patriots instead of the spread that scored 19 unanswered points against the Chiefs. Which I definitely see where you're coming from on that. And I know I had a, breaking news thing on Titans the Truth. I know a lot of people commented on that, and I'm just trying to find that. So, of course, Denise Roddy says, kind of put a Vols move on him. It does kind of remind you of what happened with Butch Jones a little bit. So, I definitely understand that. And, of course, I had a lot of comments, though. A lot of people didn't see it coming. A lot of people didn't see it coming. And, that's it. Terry Robisky had to go. That was from my soror, Nicole Fields. A lot of people said, the offensive coordinator was the one that needed to go, but obviously, he didn't do it. Brandon says hated for Mike, but he didn't want to change the offensive coordinator. Brandon comes in thinking Josh McDaniels might be coming, and we'll have to see about that. Natalia Rivers said, finally. Finally. Of course, Jeanette Cooper, who was a fan of Mike Mularkey, wasn't really happy with change and said, damn shame. Tyler, as usual, comes and says, coaching has been the biggest issue this season. Mularkey wasn't the answer. Too many people are blinded by the fact that we got in the playoffs. We need a coach that can actually see the issues, and Mularkey couldn't see Terry Robisky was a big issue. That being said, don't let the door hit you on your way out. So got that right. And so, I mean, I know we got to look at it both ways, but again, Mike Mularkey had a chance to stay head coach of the Tennessee Titans. All he had to do was get rid of Terry Robisky. He would still have a job. Instead, he decided to be so loyal to his friend, like Mike Munchak. And again, for everybody that was with me, even my friend Travis Davis said it. I called this a few weeks ago. I think I might have some telepathic ability. Not really, y'all. I'm just kidding. But I called it some weeks back. I said, the only way Mike Mularkey gets fired is if he refuses to fire Terry Robisky. That is exactly what happened, y'all. That's exactly what happened. That's how he got fired. That's why he parted ways with the team. So, that's that on that. Mularkey wasn't done wrong. Could have been handled a little bit better, maybe, but Mularkey had his chance. He didn't take it. And now he might not ever get a head coaching job again. He might end up being the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, which means that offense is going to be set back a long time. So, we ain't got to worry about Cleveland, y'all, like we ever have. So that was it on the Blu Bombshell question. And now, to be at the end of the show, we're gonna talk about some of the coaching candidates, the coaching news that has come out so far. And right now, this week, the Titans have 3 interviews set up right now for the head coaching job. Of course, Mike Vrabel was supposed to interview today, but because of the weather, Mike Vrabel's interview will be tomorrow. And he's the Texans defensive coordinator. Matt LaFleur, the offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams, his interview is on Friday. And I believe Steve Wilks, the Panthers defensive coordinator, I'm not sure when his interview is supposed to be, but I hear there was a rumor out, and I don't know how true this rumor is, that he was en route to Nashville now, today. So he may be interviewing either tonight or tomorrow or sometime within the next 48 hours. Steve Wilks is going to be interviewing. And so right now, those are the 3 we have set. And I know John Robinson's going to want to talk to some guys, probably from the Philadelphia Eagles, but we got to wait. I think, unfortunately, we have to wait until their season is over because we did not interview during the wild card week. And there's some provision that is that, you know, a team that has a first round bye, like during wild card week, you can interview coaches of teams that are in the playoffs, especially those who have the first round buys. And so, like for example, Matt Nagy got the job in Chicago as the Bears' new head coach. During wild card week, you can interview whether they're in the divisional round or whether in the wild card or divisional round with the first round bye. So, like if the Jags had beat the Titans and Mike Mularkey had been fired right when the season was over, we could have talked to guys like John DeFilippo or Frank Reich or Jim Schwartz or Pat Shermer or Josh McDaniels or anybody like that during wild card weekend before the playoffs got started. But we were in the playoffs. We didn't fire our coach at the time. Now, of course, after the AFC Championship game, I thought you could probably interview at that time, but it looks like the provision is that is only for second interviews. That is only during the week after the AFC Championship. So, like, for example, Arizona has already interviewed John DeFilippo of the Eagles. So, next week, they can interview him again for a second time. Like, for example, also, New York already interviewed Pat Shermer. They could talk to him one more time. Or the Colts could talk to Josh McDaniels one more time. And everything like that. But unfortunately, we haven't done an initial interview. So we have to wait until a team season is over before we can talk to their coaches. But anyway, here is just a look at a few of the coaches that they're talking about. First off, we're going to start with the guy that's going to be in tomorrow, Mike Vrabel, the defensive coordinator of the Houston Texans. Of course, he had a 13-year NFL career. Most of the success came with the New England Patriots, where he won 3 Super Bowls. And he was also a linebackers coach and a defensive line coach at Ohio State, and was a linebackers coach in Houston in 2014 to 2016, and then he was promoted to defensive coordinator. He runs that 3-4 defense. He runs the 3-4 defense, just like from Romeo Crennel. And one thing about it is that he inherited the number 1 defense in the league. And I know a lot of people, will say he commands presence. He's definitely a leader. He's definitely good at grooming like linebackers and people like that. Like, a lot of people said that Whitney Merciless got better, Zach Cunningham got better because of Mike Vrabel. But Here's the problem I have with Mike Vrabel. I mean, I think the connection there is, of course, John Robinson. John Robinson knew him from New England when he was a player, so it's an obvious choice. Of course, Albert Breer talking about he's a front runner, and I'm like, how's he a front runner? He hasn't even interviewed for the job yet. But mainly because Albert Breer covered the Patriots and he went to Ohio State. So, but the problem I have with this is, they were the number 1 defense overall after 2016. Dropped to 20th this past season. Now, granted, of course, J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless were injured, but that's still no excuse. And they were the worst scoring defense in the league. They allowed the most points per game in the league. You want him leading our defense that finished 24th against the pass and a meager 13th against the run, but allowed the most points per game in the league? I'm not too hot about him. I mean, the leader credential is great, but you got to be able to produce, and in his first and only year, he didn't produce. And I don't think he has enough experience as a defensive coordinator to head up to be a head coach. So I'm not really excited about Mike Vrabel. So if it was me, I'd pass. I mean, I've heard he's interviewed well, but I hope John Robinson doesn't get that whole Patriot blindness and think, oh, he's a Patriot guy, I'm going to hire him. I hope not. I really would not be excited if Mike Vrabel was the head coach. Hey, comment me, say I'm wrong if you think I'm wrong about that. But I would say the main saving grace is, who would he bring in as offensive coordinator? What type of offense would he want to run? That's going to be key if he's going to get the job, because we have no idea. We don't know. Okay? So that's something we have to figure out like that. Next up, it's going to be Matt LaFleur, offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams. He will be here on Friday to interview. Of course, he is a former college quarterback at Saginaw Valley State. Started off as an offensive assistant coach in the NFL. He was a quarterback coach and a wide receiver coach at a few various colleges. But he became an offensive assistant, and then was an offensive coordinator at Ashland University, a Division II school, and was an offensive quality control coach in Houston in 2008, 2009. Was a quarterbacks coach in Washington for 3 years, and then was a quarterbacks coach in Atlanta for another 2 seasons. And then now he's offensive coordinator in his first year. So he worked with guys like Kirk Cousins, RG3. Kirk Cousins had one of his best statistical years with LaFleur as quarterback coach. Also, RG3 had his breakout rookie season. Matt Ryan had an MVP season with LaFleur. And, of course, now has helped turn Jared Goff around as well. He's a pupil under Kyle Shanahan. And the offense this year for the Rams finished 10th overall. I believe was... I want to say was 13th in passing, I want to say. No, 10th. 10th in passing. 10th in passing, and was the number 1 scoring offense per game. So they averaged almost 30 points a game, and they are one of the only teams ever in NFL history to go from worst in scoring offense to first in scoring offense. So that is major ups there. Now, he's a student of the game, although I don't know how he does with the media and things like that. I think somebody said on a video that he looked like he was just terrified and didn't want to be there. I think it was offensive coordinator duties or something like that. But not sure how he is with the press or anything like that. But he's only been an offensive coordinator for 1 year. He's never called plays before, because out there in L.A., Sean McVay is calling the plays. Now, LaFleur helped design the offense, but Sean McVay was running it and everything. So I think that is a bad mark on him is that he never called plays before. But I think, he could possibly be the head coach if, he works well with Marcus, brings in a good offensive coordinator, or he could be an offensive coordinator. He may want to go somewhere where it's like, hey, I get to call plays. So that might be something there with LaFleur. I think he'll get some good experience. Steve Wilkes. And also, I forgot to mention with LaFleur, we got to know what kind of defense he's going to run. I know Wade Phillips out there in L.A. runs multiple looks, but mainly he's a 3-4. So I would think with LaFleur, we're probably staying at a 3-4. But with Steve Wilkes, who's the Panthers offensive coordinator, who his main area was defensive backs in the secondary, which I think is good for us because, we got to stay having a better secondary, to get some interceptions and to stop opposing offenses from scoring. That's very important. He had jobs as defensive backs coach or secondary coach at various colleges. He was also a defensive coordinator, I believe, at Illinois State. Also was a head coach for a year at Savannah State. I believe his record was 5-6 in the 1 year he was head coach at Savannah State. He was mainly a secondary or DB's coach, either in Washington. I believe the secondary coach in Chicago was defensive backs coach. In San Diego, defensive backs coach. In Carolina was a defensive backs coach, and then he was secondary coach and assistant head coach in 2015 and 16, and then now he's a defensive coordinator. So he was there all those good years with Josh Norman, was having his great year, and I believe Charles Tillman was on the other side, I think, and everything. So he had some good years in the secondary, and also he would be bringing back the 4-3, which I honestly think the 4-3 is a better defense for the Tennessee Titans overall. I think the 4-3 fits us much better. Arakpo does have some experience with his hand in the dirt. Derek Morgan goes back to that. Jarrell Casey would be back to being a 10-sack monster and everything in the 4-3. Daquan Jones could do it too. And, I think that would be very beneficial because all they'll have to do, they don't have to worry about covering nobody anymore and things like that. All they got to do is get after the quarterback, and that would pay major dividends on that. They say, he tends to be aggressive. He was aggressive, blitz quite a bit, and play a lot of man coverage because I believe it might have been Greg Cosell on the Midday 180 earlier today on 104.5, and it may have been somebody else. I can't remember. They said that, in today's NFL, you can't really sit back in zone coverage. You can't let zone coverage be a foundation. So that's something to definitely look at. The defense this year for Carolina finished 7th overall, 18th against the pass, but 3rd against the run, and was 11th in the league in points allowed defensively. So I think defensively he had a pretty good year as a defensive coordinator. Now, would it translate as a head coach? I'm not sure. He would also satisfy the Rooney Rule as interviewing a minority, and I think he would actually be a legit candidate. He also has a second interview in Arizona as well, and the rumor had it that if he gets the job as head coach, he would bring John DeFilippo with him as his offensive coordinator. Now, of course, if that happens, DeFilippo could, in a year, become a head coach somewhere else. So, that would remain to be seen on that, but I think of the three, I think Steve Wilkes could possibly be a favorite. I like Matt LaFleur. I would probably say as of right now, Wilkes would be my number 1, LaFleur would be number 2, and Vrabel would be number 3. And I would like Matt LaFleur because I think he would be great for Marcus. And as far as teaching, because he would do well as a quarterback's coach, and him being a former quarterback anyway. And also now, they haven't gotten permission yet, and I don't think they've asked about him yet, but I think they will, is John DeFilippo of the Eagles quarterback coach. Now, of course, we can't interview him until their season is over, so I'm kind of cheering for the Vikings here. Hope the Vikings get the win so that we can go in and talk to him. He's a former quarterback in college. Was a quarterback coach at Columbia and Fordham. Started off as a quality control coordinator in New York with the Giants. Was a quarterback coach twice in Oakland. So he had a little bit of success with Jamarcus Russell, but had a great year with Derek Carr. He managed to help Mark Sanchez get to the AFC Championship game the year he was there in New York. Was an offensive coordinator for a year in Cleveland, and he got in a couple of quarterbacks combined to a 4,000-yard passing season, including one infamous Johnny Manziel. And of course, offensively with the Eagles, they finished 7th. Offensively, 3rd in points scored, 13th in passing. And one thing I've seen and heard about with John DeFilippo is he is a tireless workaholic. He is a guy that's always working hard, always finding ways to be better and to help his quarterbacks be better. And I think that would be a huge benefit to Marcus Mariota, because one of the things that I think Greg Cosell mentioned on Midday 180, footwork. Footwork has to be worked on, and that will help with his throws better. Instead of having him throwing off of his back foot all the time, he can have his footwork worked on during the offseason, get the chemistry together with the receivers, and that will make a much, much better offense. I like John DeFilippo a lot from what I've read. I hope he gets a shot to get interviewed here, and I think if I'm John Robinson, if I interview John DeFilippo, I probably will offer him the job on the spot. I would do it, because I think if he's an offensive coordinator somewhere, he's going to be a head coach much sooner rather than later. And maybe as head coach, he might bring Jim Schwartz along as defensive coordinator. And I think John DeFilippo will go back to the 4-3 as well. A couple of dark horses I have. One is Jim Bob Cooter, offensive coordinator of the Lions. He's 33 years old, very young. John DeFilippo and Matt LaFleur are both 38 and 39 respectively. So they're pretty young. Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator of the Eagles, of course, he's mentioned quite a few times he would love to come back to Nashville and work for the Tennessee Titans. So I can see him possibly coaching here. Hopefully cooler heads prevail. Frank Reich, the offensive coordinator in Philly. Not too hot about him. I mean, I know he's a former quarterback and everything, of course. Titan fans will remember him well from 1992, the comeback by the Buffalo Bills. He led it. And then, of course, last but not least, and I put him last, is Josh McDaniels. Because right now, rumor had it he's expected to take the job as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. But it said expected. Josh McDaniels never said he accepted the job. So I think after the season is over, I think Josh McDaniels will give the Titans at least an opportunity to interview him and see if he can see if they win him over, or he's going to end up going to Detroit. But I think Josh McDaniels definitely has that connection with John Robinson. I think he could do very well for Marcus and for the entire offense as a whole. But then the question would be, who would he bring in for defense? Or would they would any of the offensive coordinators, keep Dick LeBeau? The legendary defensive coordinator. I mean, right now LeBeau is in limbo. He doesn't know if he'll have a job next year or not. But I could see it where Josh McDaniels go ahead and bring him in, possibly as defensive coordinator. That's something we'll have to definitely see about that. But there will be more news coming as the weeks go, with more names coming out and more interviews coming. Again, Mike Vrabel's interview was pushed back to tomorrow. Matt LaFleur will interview Friday, and I believe Steve Wilkes, I don't know if he's interviewing tonight or tomorrow, but he was en route to Nashville to interview for the head coaching job. So he may already be in town. And so we'll see about that. There'll be some more information coming out about the coaching candidates. But I think that's all the time I have for this evening. I want to say thank y'all for tuning in. And definitely, again, comment, subscribe to the channel, spread the word to everybody about Titans and Truth, and let everybody know about me. We'll have some big things coming. Next week will be the off-season outlook show with off-season awards and also a very brief look into free agency and the draft. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in to Titans and Truth. My name is Chris, aka Blue Enforcer. I'm out of here. Y'all have a very, very good rest of the evening. Stay warm out there if you're cold.